It's time to feel what you've been bottling up. Life in rural America isn't easy. The long hours, the constant pressures, the demands of the land, livestock, and family, it all takes a toll. We're tough and we've got grit, but somewhere along the way, toughness started meaning bottling up emotions and powering through. But here's the truth. That strategy, it's not working and it's poisoning us. Maybe you've noticed and maybe you haven't, but the numbers don't lie. We're breaking down and it's showing up in our bodies, our relationships, and in the rising suicide rates in agriculture. You don't have to carry any of it alone. There's another way. If you're ready to stop being weighed down and start moving forward, my one-on-one Good Movement guidance is now open. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more and see if one-on-one guidance could be for you.
I'll carry you, you carry me, we'll help each other through it. Come on and say Good Movement draws good movement.
Welcome to Good Movement Draws Good Movement, the podcast where farmers, ranchers, and rural folks can grow relationally through awareness, understanding, and effective communication. Hey, it's T. I'm your host, and I, along with my guests, will be covering topics related to drawing good movement. Things like self and social awareness, brain science, positive psychology, extending grace, and so much more. We'll share tools that can help you understand why you are the way you are, why others are the way they are, and how you can use that to step out of self-told lies with grace and compassion to draw good movement in conversations, relationships, and life in rural America. Let's go draw good movement. Welcome back to the Good Movement Draws Good Movement podcast. Today, I have another short solo episode for you. We're going to talk about something that is so simple, but absolutely blew my mind the first time I heard it. A few years ago, I was introduced to positive psychologist, TED Talker, and author Shawn Achor. Actually, I wasn't introduced to him in person in real life. I've never met Shawn, but one of my friends had shared that they loved his book, Big Potential. So I started with that one and I got hooked and I proceeded to binge listen to all of his books. I listened to Big Potential, then Before Happiness, followed by The Happiness Advantage, which is in backward order from his writing. He wrote The Happiness Advantage, then Before Happiness, then Big Potential, but sometimes that's how I roll. I digress. In his book, The Happiness Advantage, How a Positive Brain Fuels Success in Work and Life, he talks about how to rewire our brains for positivity and happiness with his 7 principles. As I was listening to principle 1 of 7, I was struck by something he shared. So struck that I had to go back and listen again. Not because it was a hard concept to grasp, it was not, but because it was so simple that I had to make sure I was hearing it correctly. The concept comes from a decade of research done by psychologist and business consultant Marcial Losada. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Anyway, Losada's research revealed that it takes 3 or 2.9013 to be exact positive comments. So 3 or about 3 positive comments, experiences, expressions, or interactions to counter the effects of just 1 negative comment, experience, expression, or interaction. If the ratio is below that point, so below 2.9013, also known as the Losada line, mood and performance will suffer. If the ratio is above the Losada line, ideally to a 6-to-1 ratio, moods improve and folks produce their very best work. The book is referencing workplace performance specifically, but this concept applies in everyday life and relationships as well. Considering the concept, and that it works outside the workplace just as well as it does inside, I have to wonder, what in the actual hell are we doing as a society? What are we doing to ourselves? I have to admit that I don't watch that much news or take that much news in anymore, because when I did, it seemed as though at least 23 and a half hours of the 24-hour news cycle was bad, negative news. And honestly, I just could not handle that much bad news. So I started shutting it off. I am left in the dark quite a bit on a lot of different things. I feel like I do a pretty good job of staying up on relative news or news relative to me, but I just cannot take in that much negative news. And honestly, much of social media is the same. Maybe not so much the posts, but the comment sections. Lots of negativity in the comment sections. But knowing what we know about the Losada line and that negative to positive ratio, you don't have to stretch your imagination very darn far to see why the amount of negativity available to us at our fingertips at all times is problematic. It's a problem. It's a real, real problem. I know personally, I cannot handle that much negativity. And I do not believe we as humans are meant to try and hold that much heartache and negativity, especially considering the way most of us have been taught to view emotions. We're taught to hold in and repress. And when you are taking in that much negative, you're holding in and repressing a lot, and that is not sustainable. The good news is that even though negativity breeds negativity, positivity breeds positivity. As we learned, though, it does take a fair bit more positive to counter the negative. And considering what we know about just how much negative we're up against, it's going to take a lot of positive. But that is a challenge I'm more than willing to take, and I'd bet you are too. So I've compiled a few ideas to get us started. So here are those ideas. Notice someone on the street or in the store or even in your car. Like if you're driving slow through town, you can see people's faces. So greet them warmly. A greeting does not have to be verbal. It can be an expression on your face. It doesn't even have to be a smile. It just has to be a warm expression on your face. Sit with a friend, family member, or stranger in whatever it is they've got going on. If you notice something is going on with someone, it's okay to validate them in that and just sit with them. You don't have to say much. Maybe don't even have to say anything. Just see them and let them feel seen. Start a joy journal and a gratitude practice, like we talked about way back in episode 5. Building that gratitude and recognizing what you're grateful for will help you build joy. And when you have joy, you're more able to withstand that negative. And also, it rubs off on those around you. Limit your exposure to the news and stay out of the comment sections. Stay informed, but don't get sucked in, is the moral of this story. Say something kind to yourself or someone else. I'm not talking about being disingenuous or ungenuine here. Say something genuinely kind to yourself or someone else. Shoot a text to someone who's been on your mind and let them know that you've been thinking of them. These are just a few ways I could think of right off the top of my head to share in this episode, but I would love to know how you're staying above the Losada line. So feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram and let me know. Again, the book I heard about the Losada line in, was called The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor. I'll have all the links for this book plus all of his other books in the show notes. But I do want to leave you with a preview of what he talks about at the end of The Happiness Advantage. He talks about the ripple effect. and how to spread the positive change in our work and homes, which to me sounds a heck of a lot like good movement. It starts with us, but by default, good movement draws good movement. So it never ends with us. With that, draw good movement. Until next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share with others who might also benefit from tuning in. Share by word of mouth, send it in a text, take a screenshot and post it on social media, or share however you prefer. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, draw good movement.